This video is for educational, informative, and entertainment purposes only. Some of the content herein contains suggestive themes, and I have issued a trigger warning. It is never my intent to disrespect any individual spoken about or watching my videos. Viewer discretion is advised. This is the disturbing case of Lauren Giddings. Lauren Teresa Giddings was born April 18, 1984, in Tacoma Park, Maryland. She was the daughter of Bill and Karen Giddings and the sister to Caitlin and Sarah. Lauren was the oldest of the three girls. In 2002, Lauren graduated high school. This is when she moved to Georgia to attend Agnes Scott. It was a female college, and she had planned to be a doctor. Lauren began having issues with one of her classes, and after speaking with her mother, she decided that she would go into law. In 2008, Lauren changed majors to political science and applied to law school. She was then accepted to Mercer University, Walter F. George School of Law in Macon, Georgia. Lauren would then move to Macon into a small apartment complex known as Barrister's Hall. Barrister's Hall is a complex that opens their doors to law students only, as they are right across the street from the university. Lauren was the president of the Federalist Society, and on May the 14th, 2011, Lauren would graduate Mercer Law with a Juris Doctorate degree. Lauren was in a relationship with a very successful trial attorney, who we'll call David, who was 20 years her senior. Lauren had met David while interning. On June 25th, 2011, at 10 p.m., Lauren emailed David stating that she thought someone was stalking and breaking into her apartment, moving her belongings around, and she was scared to stay there, but decided to tough it out, being she was scheduled to move out within a few short days. About a week prior to this email, Lauren had told friends and family that she would be studying for the bar exam, and no one heard from her, so they just thought she was studying, as she said she was going to be doing. One of Lauren's friends from back home had reached out to Lauren via text message and did not receive an answer. She thought this was very unlike Lauren, because no matter what the question was, Lauren would always respond to her. So she reached out to one of Lauren's sisters and asked if she had heard from her. The answer was no. On 6/30, 2011, Lauren's friend Ashley went over to check on Lauren, her apartment, and no one came to the door. Lauren's car was there, but then she remembered that Lauren kept a hide key outside and used this key along with her boyfriend to gain access to Lauren's apartment. During this time, one of the neighbors had heard the conversation, and he went over and they all went into the apartment together. Nothing seemed out of place. Lauren's wallet, purse, laptop, books, and keys were all there, but there was no sign of Lauren. At this point, no one had seen her in 4 days. The neighbor even suggested that someone may have snatched Lauren while she was out on a jog, which she did a lot. There was an interview by the local news affiliate with this neighbor, Stephen McDaniel. I will play this video here.
Find out where she is at this point. I mean, no one has seen her since Saturday. I mean, the last time anyone heard from her was an email that she sent out, and no one's heard from her since.
Did you see her hang out with anyone at the time, anything like that?
I mean, no one has seen her since Saturday. I haven't seen anything. I mean, you always hear noise outside, but it's just people walking by pretty much.
And she just recently graduated from Mercer?
Yeah, she and I were both JD students. We graduated back in May.
What kind of person was she? I mean, what did you see?
I mean, she's as nice as can be. I mean, very personable, very much a people person.
Do you know any enemies she might have had, somebody that might want to hurt her?
No, we don't know where she is. I mean, the only thing we can think is that maybe she went out running and someone snatched her. Because we went over. One of her friends had a key. We went inside and tried to see if there was anything amiss, but she had a door jamb that was sitting right by it, so there was no sign that anyone broke in. The door was locked when everyone got here. We just don't know where she is.
What about in the parking lot area? I know they've been doing a lot of. I think that's where they have recovered the body or whatever they recovered from there.
Body?
Had you seen anything there? Had you seen anything there? I mean, we don't know if this is the same person. You know what I mean? Like, they took out a body there earlier. We don't know if it's the same person or not. So that's why we're trying to ask people if they know who lived there. Are you okay, sir?
I think I need to sit down.
At this time, of course, the Macon Bibb Police Department was already involved and an investigation had already begun. They were searching Lauren's apartment, found no signs of forced entry, and they sprayed luminol, which of course, if you spray luminol and if there are any traces of blood, it will glow. Well, they sprayed luminol in the kitchen, in the living room, and there was nothing there. However, when they made it to the bathroom, you could definitely tell that something had happened there. So much so that the police investigators now determined they were looking for a body. One investigator was even noticed stating that in the bathtub, you could tell that it was filled to the brim with blood. Of course, while this investigation is being conducted, the news affiliates were still interviewing Stephen McDaniel. The interviewer stated something about finding a body, and Stephen had to excuse himself and go sit down. He had not heard of a body being found. Outside of the Barrister's Hall apartment complex, the community trash bins were searched and a torso was found. They were able to conclude that this was indeed the torso of Lauren Giddings from DNA, from her hairbrush. Stephen would then come back after sitting down and continue with the interview. Also, a side note, that trash bin would have normally been picked up already. However, due to the police presence and blocking off of the road, the trash truck was unable to get to the location, and therefore causing the trash bin not to be picked up. Otherwise, that evidence could have been gone forever.
Seen her since Saturday because we all just, there's not a whole lot of interaction unless we're doing classes.
Right.
And she was doing the online version of it.
You all studied together though?
We were in, there's two different people, there's two companies that provide it. Kaplan provides it and Barbary provides it. I signed up with Barbary and I've been doing the lectures that they have in the mornings. She was doing the Kaplan online, so I hardly ever saw her. I would see her go out running, but
What time would you go out running?
I don't even know when.
Was it at night or morning?
I saw her midday a couple weeks ago. That was the last time I saw her, was coming back from the bar prep on the main campus because we got moved over there for a week or two.
But she normally would run. That was the
routine
that she had.
She ran all the time. She had a group that she would go running with. I don't know anyone that would want to hurt her. She was as nice a person as there is.
Was she moving soon? Did you know anything about her?
Yeah. She was going to be moving out today. She was supposed to move out today because someone else was going to be moving into her apartment, the new law student.
Do you know if she was planning? Where is she from? Is she from Maryland?
Yeah, she's from up in Maryland.
Can I just put this on you so we can hear you? Is that all right?
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Here, and you can just hold on to that. Thank you.
Yeah, she's from Maryland.
Yeah, she was from up in Maryland. All her family was there, as far as I know. She.
What's going on in your mind right now? Like, what are you thinking?
Why would anyone do this?
She didn't hear anything?
No.
Didn't see anybody?
I just heard something. Maybe I could have helped.
It's okay, don't worry. Do you want to sit down for a second? Get something to drink?
Do you know if a bunch of her friends are getting together or anything?
That's how I found out that she was missing. a bunch of her friends came over yesterday night around midnight, and they hadn't seen her since Saturday, so they were trying to find out where she was.
So they were knocking on neighbors' doors and stuff?
No, they went in, they had a key to her apartment, and they checked around, didn't see anything out of place. It was locked when everyone got there.
That was midnight?
Yeah, around midnight, and then we went over to law school to see if maybe she was over in the library studying or something. And we looked up in the study rooms on the 3rd floor, and there was no one there. And we came back, we looked around, and just tried to find anything to figure out where she was.
She doesn't have any family in Georgia?
I don't know. As far as I know, all of her family is from in Maryland.
Have you met her family before?
There was one time that I met them. They came down first year. She had a little dog, a little brown dog, that she would exercise out in front of the law school, and it got hit as she was coming across the road. I heard the car hit it and ran out, and she was there crying, and thankfully there was someone who came along who knew a vet or something, and they helped that, and her family came down I think a couple weeks after that or something. I met them just briefly.
Right.
But
her boyfriend or
we've been trying to figure out. She has a boyfriend up in Atlanta, but someone called him, and he hadn't heard from her. No one could figure out where she was.
Who was the last person to be with her? You said that somebody had seen her on Saturday?
Yeah, she went over to couple friends' house, Garen Mueller and Joe Cairns. They live over on Walnut, and they said that she was over there in the morning, and then that was the last time that anyone we've been able to find out from had seen her.
She hadn't mentioned what she was going to do that day or anything?
Joe, he got onto her computer last night to see if she had said anything. She'd sent an email out to some people that afternoon talking about like going out to eat or something, and the last thing that there was an email that she sent out after 10 that night where she sent to, I think it was someone in Atlanta, a friend of hers in Atlanta, and she said that she was afraid in her apartment that she thought that someone had tried to break in on Thursday night, and she was afraid to stay in there. But
where did you hear that from Joe?
He pulled it up, and we read it off the screen.
And she had said that to a friend in Atlanta?
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but...
And you hadn't heard anything on Thursday night?
No.
She never came to you to tell you anything?
No, if she had, I could have done something. I could have lent her a handgun. I've got a little handgun that I have for defense. And
Or she could have slept over or something?
yeah, something. If she was afraid in her apartment, then, get her out of there.
Is that tried to break in on Thursday?
That's what she said in the email. She thought that someone had tried to break into her apartment. She said, like, Macon hoodlums tried to break into my apartment on Thursday night.
Is that her car parked there? The Chevy?
No.
Small car?
No, I think that's the detective's car, Detective
her
Patterson.
car's not even there?
No, it was here earlier, and they towed it. It'd been there for days, and then they towed it to, I guess, look through, see if there was...
The police.
Yeah.
How did you find out that something was wrong with the police here? Was it like when you walked up a little while ago, or?
No, the police were called last night, and they came and they looked around. They didn't see anything. They went in, we looked around the place. No sign of a struggle, no sign that anyone had broken in, just nothing.
Investigators would later watch the Stephen McDaniel interview, especially the part where he stated he wished he would have loaned Lauren a firearm to protect herself. Stephen became a person of interest. Stephen's friends would then be questioned. They would say he would often ask how to carry out the perfect murder. Stephen was then asked to come down to the police station for an interview. He quickly goes from a person of interest to the prime suspect. Investigators would try to get him to say more than yes, no, I don't know, by telling him they found blood in his apartment. They also noticed scratches on Stephen and asked where they had come from. He stated he did that in his sleep. Stephen claimed to be a virgin and stated this in his police interview. During a search of his apartment, they found a mask made from underwear, as well as a collection of condoms. When Virgin Stephen was asked about the condoms, he would admit to stealing them from other apartments, as well as having a master key to all of the apartments. Investigators found a flash drive belonging to Lauren with her personal photos. They were also able to tell that he had been looking at Lauren's Facebook and LinkedIn accounts. They were also able to see that he indulged in violent pornography. They found Lauren's underwear in there as well. Stephen had also attempted to delete files from his computer, but investigators were able to pull a video up taken outside Lauren's apartment, peering through her windows as he was using a wooden pole with a camera taped to it. This footage was taken the night of Lauren's murder.
About this girl right here. You know her?
Yes.
Who is that?
Lauren Giddings.
Does she live next door to you?
Yes.
When's the last time you seen her?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Was you friends with Lauren?
Yes.
Look at me when you talk to me, son. Okay? Was you friends with her?
Yes.
Close friends?
We were good.
I mean, y'all were friends, right? Both of
Yes.
y'all are law students. You're studying to be an attorney, right?
Yes.
What kind of law do you want to go into? Criminal law?
Yes.
Civil? Is that what you want to do for a living?
Yes.
Okay. Are you almost finished?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't have too much more to do, right?
After searching a utility room in the building, they found a hacksaw, and oddly enough, the packaging to this hacksaw was located in Stephen's apartment. DNA proved Lauren's blood was on the saw. After realizing how much evidence they had against him, he took a plea agreement, which Lauren's parents agreed to. the death penalty would be taken off the table if Stephen would confess with details. If he would do this, they would agree to life in prison. Also note, Lauren was against the death penalty and wanted to be a defense attorney once she passed the bar. Stephen McDaniel then wrote an allocution statement. An allocution statement, defined by the American Bar Association, is: after pleading guilty, a defendant is typically offered a formal opportunity to address the court to express remorse and explain personal circumstances that might be considered in sentencing. This is known as an allocution statement. These statements have a long and important history in the American legal system, serve a variety of functions, and as teaching legal dogs. The allocution statement provides an opportunity for defendants to accept responsibility, humanize themselves, and to mitigate their sentences to ensure that their punishment is appropriate for both the crime and the person who committed it. From the court's perspective, judges cannot simply accept a defendant's guilty plea. They must determine that there is an adequate factual basis to support the charge and the plea, and that the plea was knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently made. Allocution statements aid in making these determinations. I will now read you Stephen McDaniel's allocution statement. On Sunday, June 26, 2011, around 4:30 a.m., I entered Lauren Giddings' apartment with a master key I possessed. I was wearing gloves and a mask. I walked to her bedroom door and stood there, observing her sleeping. As I took another step, the floor creaked, and she awoke. She sat up in bed, saw me, and said very calmly, "Get the F out." I leaped across the bed onto her and grabbed her by the throat. We tumbled out of the bed to the floor, and in her struggle to get away, she moved her legs and lower body under her bed, preventing her from getting away or kicking me. I kept my hands around her throat as we fell to the floor. She reached up and was able to grab the mask and pull it off my head. She said, "Stephen, please stop." I continued to strangle her until she stopped moving. I remained that way, my hands around her throat, for several minutes, probably as long as 15 minutes. She did not move anymore. I dragged her into the bathroom and placed her in the bathtub, then returned to my apartment. I remained in my apartment, mostly on my computer, throughout the day, Sunday, June 26th. I returned to Lauren's apartment around midnight Sunday to begin to dismember her with the hacksaw that was later recovered from the laundry room maintenance closet. I removed her limbs and head, wrapped them in several black trash bags separately, and discarded them in the Mercer Law School dumpster across the street from Barristers Hall Apartments. I cut up the mask, gloves, and my shirt and flushed them down my toilet. I wrapped her torso in a black plastic trash bag and placed it in the green Barristers Hall trash can on Tuesday, June the 28th, before daylight. I then cleaned up her bathroom. I never used the refrigerator in apartment 1. At no time before Lauren's death did I sexually accost her. At no point after her death did I perform any sexual act of any kind with respect to her remains. She was wearing the pink running shorts when she died, and I never removed them. They were found on her torso, just as I had left them. On Monday, I stayed home from bar prep class. Over the next several days, I rarely slept, used my computer extensively, yet still attended bar prep class on Tuesday and Wednesday. I joined the search party Wednesday night into the early hours of Thursday morning, June the 30th, still in a dreamlike delusional state in which I believed at the time, while taking part in the search, that Lauren was still alive and that I had not done what I had done, even searching the empty law school in a delusional hope of finding Lauren alive and well, as if I had not really killed her. During the weeks leading up to my actions and the days following, as I look back on it now, I can only describe myself as a divided in mind, unable to account for how I could have committed these horrible acts, and at the same time also be able to carry on daily routines. It is difficult for me to explain why I killed Lauren and attempted to conceal my deed the way I did. The difficulty explaining it lies in my own inability to understand it myself. I know that I was very wrong. I'm not delusional or without all morals or decency. Yet, I acknowledge that something in my makeup, my psychology, my neuropathy, my own particular psychology perhaps, must explain it. But it is beyond my reach. Lauren was my friend. Not a day goes by that I do not grieve over her death. I am extremely sorry for what I did to Lauren and her family. I do not expect the forgiveness of Lauren's family, and there is no way I can ever deserve it. No words are sufficient to take away their pain. If I could take back what happened, I would do so. If I could restore Lauren to her family, I would. All I can say to Lauren's family and her many friends is I'm very sorry. And it was signed by Stephen M. McDaniel. 4 years later, Stephen would file a habeas corpus for ineffective counsel, judge being prejudiced, proper warrants not filed, and being questioned while he was in a catatonic state. He represented himself, and one of the witnesses he called was his former defense attorney, Floyd Buford. While on the stand, Mr. Buford stated, "Until the last couple of weeks of your case, I was strongly in your corner, believing in your innocence. Then, the computer evidence, the peering in Ms. Giddings' apartment, and the graphic, specific, detailed confession that you made to Frank Hogue and I, how you stated that you carved and cut every appendage from her hands and flushed them down the toilet, combined with searches on the internet, this became a heavy evidentiary problem in your case. The judge denied Stephen's appeal. Currently, Stephen McDaniel is serving life with the possibility of parole in the Hancock State Penitentiary. Now, I would like to share my version of the day this happened. I myself was living in Macon, Georgia during the time of this brutal murder. The road that cuts between Barrister's Hall and Mercer University was the way I took to and from every every day. I went to work that morning, as I always do. And then that afternoon, I was taking the road back. We were kind of detoured, but we could still see barristers and we could see the heavy police presence. We were also able to see, because we were kind of at a standstill. So I did see when they were searching the trash bin. This was our local news. We saw these interviews done with Stephen McDaniel in real time. And everyone thought there's something strange about this guy. He did it. And sure enough, it came to be. So the last time I was in Macon, I rode by barristers, and I'm going to show you the clip that I made personally. And I'll end it with that. I would like to say thank you for watching my video, and I hope you will subscribe, as there will be lots more coming. And if you don't mind, please give this video a like. It really helps out to put my channel out there. So again, thank you all so very much. And our prayers and thoughts are still with Lauren Giddings, family, and friends. She was laid to rest August 6th, 2011 in Scaggsville, Maryland. Alright guys, so this is part of the story of Lauren Giddings. She resided at Barrister's Hall here in Macon, Georgia. Of course, the video I'm going to be telling you about the story, but I wanted to show you actual footage. Alright, the apartment there on the top left of your screen, that is where Lauren resided. The top right of your screen is where Stephen McDaniel resided. Those names will come into play as I go through the video. Now, Lauren and Stephen were both Mercer Law students right across the street. So there's Mercer, and it continues to go on back. Okay. All right, guys.